when come to monarchy in specifics, that is, I'm speaking 15 years, and I have not reached the point where I'm going to say the monarchy in specifics. Maybe I just calculated deliberately to give them time to reform. But I can notice that they have used this time to actually capitalize on all of the wrongdoings they have been committing. So, of course, in the closure of this work, this stage of my work would be, therefore, to bring that perspective as well. The monarchy today in specifics, therefore, apart of the fact that it is in question evident managing of families and therefore interference in private lives of families to the tiniest details, where technology today certainly permits them to bring that function to next level, literally giving them somewhere in when satellites started to fly allegedly on the moon, certainly stayed in the atmosphere, became perfect assistance to provide screen images to such developed monarchical function. And I can imagine it would have been hard to turn away from what become even much funnier and much obviously purposeful beneficial when it comes to excavating the final profit out of such God-given privileged position. Obviously, I'm going to see now how naive it was calling these people to become normal, since they already have been holding position of gods, and normally they would be, it would end as them laughing at me from the above, as gods laughing at some kind of little naive person hoping that such privilege, such well-developed setting would like to change anything about it. Yeah, from my perspective, from perspective of ordinary citizen, it would be naive. From perspective of Olympia, goddess of absolute justice, I think it would be called something else. It would be called the code of human civilization and the code of human ultimately. And it would be what it turned to be. Questioning how we would like to see the upper humans manifested on this planet. How we would like to see the upper consciousness functioning on this planet. Not in their half an hour free time, but as a matter of what their protocol is doing, as a principal activity. And of course, what their protocol is doing as a principal activity is not charity, but managing every single family on the planet, to the extent that what is the principal territory that is under their jurisdiction. What that also we talk here about Americans sitting behind and controlling militarily additional, that is with satellites and the latest military equipment and technological, of course, under American flag, that many territories. That means that would be including all of the territories that are covered by American big tech companies. Would be therefore within the circle of such monarchical function of monarchy of England under English-speaking territory. That is the size of that God that we are talking about today. And I perceive, and I established as a little nobody wanted to make agreement for a reform. Now, I'm just noticing their position. I'm just now stepping away from my role taken and observing the situation differently, not from my perspective. That is how that all of that would be looking. Is there any space that I would presume that I can assume that they would like to change anything about the positions they're holding, as they have managed in the meantime to improve, using me as a gadget as well, to straighten their circles of influence, and to which they would be generating certain chunk of profit making from the enterprise. They will continue obviously to call enterprise because in substance it happens to be an enterprise that ultimately does not end up to be managing the humanity, that ultimately end up to be enterprise. And rightfully, Star Trek has been called Enterprise. The name of it is Enterprise, which evidently describes exactly what Monarchy of England today is. The rest of the monarchies, I'm going to find, would have been mostly Europeans, would have been completely under the umbrella of such establishment, having Americans as their main backing. And of course, a participant in such White House associated the monarchy typical protocol, and the ones sitting there are complete monarchs, such shared enterprise. Where you are going to find European monarchies? Probably on the level of some kind of equally within the protocol of shareholding, certain shares of, support to continue to operate on their territories in the similar way how Americans started to operate. Therefore, to use latest technology and to continue to allegedly manage families, that is basically administrate or basically deal with families as it is factory, as it is enterprise. From there, the expression factory of capitalism emerged, as you can see, conveniently just admitting capitalism, admitting to the what obviously exists as established political platform. It took that much of a mental change of the mental window of a mental framework to completely change the entire platform with to drop that perspective and to replace it with different mega perspective in order to notice the previous mega perspective. That is, when there is a mega protocol, it takes another mega view, another megatron to notice the previous, or another mega perspective, which I have no doubt have been taken by Russians in the last century, by Chinese, by their political ideologists. But obviously they went that far as how the system the establishment was choosing to select them, and how far would allow them to present their true perspective. In other words, socialism, as I have been discussing many times, is nothing else but the product of exactly such establishment. And that is why, on the backbone, there is a constant communication between Russians and Americans, between England and China, England and India, that continue to be a very traditional channels of developed communication, and profound fundamental interdependence when it comes to the most significant infrastructure related operating of the system. At some point here, we talk about planetary system. That is how far this entire enterprise managed to grow, especially in last century, straightening with television, Hollywood, and technology its dominant position. Now, how that works in specifics? In specifics, it works as you become monitored 24 out of 7. Any of your dreams and ambitions become employed in the system and for the benefit of the system. You will be given support as much as it can be used. You can be used as a horsepower to their agendas. At some point, when that doesn't stop working for them, you stop. They drop you off. How they drop you off? They give you some kind of ball and chain marriage, or a cork on the top of the vine marriage that is going to bring you down the aisle for a lifetime. Homosexualism also was developed with purpose to leave certain breed without children, to leave certain breed childless. That's very straightforward. As you can see, for them, that's very, 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 very easy, very straightforward. They do that immediately. Deciding who can have kids, who cannot have kids in a family, that was absolutely manageable. Completely manageable. Fertilization, manageable. Fertility, manageable. To be declared like you can't have kids, and then stolen your embryos and sold on the market, that's completely manageable. You end up thinking you don't have kids. You end up visiting a gynecologist like 100 times. Each time being taken, fertilized, embryo. Your embryo that very, very, in numerous cases would have been obviously very much abortion, technically, that you would not even know. Early abortion, woman cannot notice. We are talking here about total control of the population of other nation. Relationships, marriages, what kind of kids, who can have kids. These are not little matters. This is everything that matters in human life. This is not something marginal. This is everything that matters in human life. Process of exploiting you during your lifetime, no need to go into details. Taking joy out of mocking you around, mocking your kids around. Make them usable sheep for their own benefits. Your kids become used for their own benefits, while they continue to grow in the idleness of their genetic code. They're the one having the kids. They're the one having the grandkids. They're the one given opportunities and promise. You end up being detached from your children, without ability to influence their lives, without ability to be in their lives, without ability to know what's happening in their lives. They become easy available for someone else to manage their lives, and in the process to make them usable for their purposes, because they don't have emotion attached to your children. Emotion to your children is with you. To them, your children is no one, nobody. If have detached you, if they send you away for 30 years never to and have not seen you in all of that times. There was broken emotional connection between either the siblings, the kids, the cousins, or of mature members of your siblings, that is their aunts, uncles versus the kids. That emotional need has been broken. For them, your kids are nothing, and other way around. A family become business unit, tradable and profit-bearing. I don't know how many people have been, how many families have been submitted to something like this. But I don't think that visiting homeland a few times in a year is going to change anything. Detaching family from each other, detaching siblings, kids from each other, ultimately become families very easy manageable. Such high level of immigration in substance allows exactly that. It allows the cancer to enter in the nation and start working its ways, patiently, family after family after family. The virus go on and on and on, entering your family circles and starting, the point is that the first damage is happening when you leave the home territory. And when your kids become strangers to the homeland, the one that have stayed at the home, and when your kids become some kind of differentiated from the rest of the family, become more vulnerable, and ultimately become somehow less close to their hearts. This is especially accomplished to a very high degree with mixing with additional qualitative stamp or less qualitative stamp, as it is some extended bloodline somewhere from, for example, Middle East that were at earlier time Macedonian, but have been left there for 2 millenniums and are returning home, are having some collected with them some kind of Asia substances. Return home and bring not pure code, become a reason for additional discrimination, but also purposefulness in terms of emotional detached creation of emotional detachment and objectivizing person, which becomes for them object rather than subject, someone they don't care enough because they don't have emotional connection to your kids. For them, your kids become economic unit, disposable, available to be used for their benefit. Well, they are the one getting creation also. This Monarchy of England is also providing an example of getting married at the age of 20 or early age. Like first relations, first girlfriend or first boyfriend getting married. So they're talking about some kind of virgin there's some kind of virginity going on here on play. Also, well, some kids, therefore, that is where how they build the privileged level, the ones that are pure and moral. And then the ones that are not in that kind of category, they become disposable and usable for the purposes of previous. Here, virginity becomes some kind of ultimate stamp for monarchical breed. The virgin level of purity becomes definition of monarchy. And the one chosen by the monarchy as a privileged in the ranking. And the one that would not be developing their relationships in such way, especially democratic with development of the modern living on the West, not that many girls would go that early to get married and immediately have kids. Most of the girls would what have become typical for Western society, decide to have kids somewhere in their 30s. That is how enterprise works here. That is where becomes all of the story of their economy become completely based on them managing you within the set of relationships. You become prostitute. Technically, any girl that is not married by the system, obviously, within the monarchical protocol with the first girlfriend or first boyfriend, as the pattern monarchy, pattern virgin, which is completely Muslim concept. In Muslim world, that is still very much tradition. Also very much in over traditional societies everywhere in the world, especially China, Japan. On our territory, somewhere in the villages, in the mountains somewhere, into Montenegro probably, in countries like that are more mountain driven, that's highly provincial, where people have nothing else to do in their life really but to get married and have kids. But in the cities, in mega cities, you don't see exactly that's happening. And that is how mega cities have become basically one huge factory protocol. Now look at the scale of how far this is going into details. The scale how this cancer spreads and go into details. And that's why it is cancer, because it managed to organize itself by the government, by community protocol, by managing communities, also by the churches as well. Basically spread that cancer all over the planet, among the planetary population. The coronavirus here that they also invented, basically it is explained from some kind of hunting victim protocol, rather than hunting something that is rotten or damaged or evil or I don't know what. What it is, in substance, it is identity conflict, and we are talking about two plateaus here that I was talking there for yesterday, that are providing the mainstream conflicting line between the two cultural identities, and in substance that are having different bio-identities as their temple protocol, as their matrix, different Oscar or different identity protocol. That is where you find, for example, Shia and Sunni concept, which is embedded in how Serbia and Macedonia found themselves now lately differentiating. Although in substance, that's not Serbia. Serbia is made out of much more naturally designed tribunal. Humans that basically are very randomly, much more organically, much more naturally happening in different forms and shapes. As you're well aware, the humans are not exactly, today we cannot split the entire planet exactly to Sunni and Shia now, but in substance, that is increasingly how it all plays, increasingly is getting stronger and stronger on our territory. They're a step away to completely, obviously with the latest president of Serbia, that is what is his downfall, regretfully. Just the way how he looks, he becomes just epitome of the entire Saudi Arabians protocol and financial marching of Saudi Arabians or Shia behind them of Iran, that found today Serbia as their Powerball, to use what in substance the real Serbia is, that is a much more its own protocol, very much having its own way of managing the humanity, which is closer to Olymp and the way how I described Olymp actually. basically discussing the cultures in much more normal way and managing life in much more normal way. Here it is. I'm even afraid now to mention the word monarchy anymore because of what I just put in words today. It all of a sudden it looks so comprehensive. It looks so demonical. It looks so hopeless, even I would say. But of course, these are not the words we can accept to live with or we can tolerate. Here, in that respect, I'm going to say that monarchy of England at this point simply have absolutely no chance to insist, or White House of America and their aristocratic crew, which is mostly hiding in Democratic Party, would have absolutely no chance to survive this kind of this situation. Is relevant of, have I said it? I'm very sure it has been noticed already. The fact is that it plays with such devastation on this earth, and also obviously it is dragging everything on the side of Shia protocol of Iran. Now, the catching momentum here is that if you're a designer, for example, if you're interested, where I bring Olymp, and if you're interested about promoting humanity, you would equally find, okay, certain if we have that also, I think that someone have been undoing human in order to jump later to say, now you need help. I think that they have been undoing human. In any way, we found ourselves today. We found that one good percentage of planetary population is short and like they need taller human specimen, and that is where Shia comes as a shell protocol with very little substance, and become actually diluting the population altogether. The ultimate question is it really that the rest of the humanity is that much short? Or someone is sabotaging it on first account? I mean, if you really naturally tall people, you don't allow them to have kids. You sabotage them. Naturally normal people. If you sabotage them in the way how it has been done, then you end up having something for the market, and that is the empty shell. When it becomes somehow business environment, it is very easy to find everything being locked in this kind of capitalism game field. Well, predatory techniques are limitless. Also, in substance, we are talking about managing humanity. When you put managing humanity on the rules of capitalism, you have predatory protocol in consequence. That's not predatory in economy or in business. It ends up to be predatory in how you manage humanity, because you have put humanity in such format to be managed. By your capitalism, you're managing humanity. If your capitalism is employing predatory shark techniques, but you're managing humanity as an enterprise, what that becomes in someone's lives, how that translates into someone's lives, into shark attack of someone's private life, transforming people literally how they want them to be, for the purposes of what they want out of them. There's only one answer to all of that: revolution, revolution, revolution. Return the same, hit in the same way. War to the end. War to the end. There is no chance of monarchy of England to survive this. There is no chance of such choices in America to survive this. War to the end. War to the end. And I think that somehow this work stands for that level of profound disagreement. And it happened in the way of choosing, actually, instead of literally a war with weapons and killing people, to exist in the format of theoretical configuration, comprehensive, similarly as the previous, yes, totally opposing and denying any aspect of previous, providing substantially detailed elaboration of how the system should be working, and more than the previous, actually providing a much more confidence, much more skill, a much more natural association with actual functional monarch and delivering promise, which the previous are not capable, promise to look into the future without fear and to look at the present as a matter of normal approach without a fear to lose control or to lose its competence. There is no better definition of ultimate freedom than to exist as you are. Although, of course, that is very much conditional on how we build ourselves to our mature stages. But winning the stage in all of the right ways is the only way to experience personal freedom, and the only way of system to exist as a system rather than as torture, usurpation, and ultimately a regime. In what world we live today, it is ultimately a regime. It's not Iran regime just in Iran. It is actually elsewhere all over the planet, wherever is English monarchy reaching, and wherever is English speaking language, English language reaching, because if we agree that monarchy of England is profoundly Babylonian and that America is profoundly Babylonian, then we should be also accepting that the principles upon which this realm has been managed would be profoundly Babylonian, that is Iranian. You just could have not seen it. But we are actually today, we live in a regime, and I think that you know that very well. Just we somehow accept how someone decides to define our mental space. We just accept such a given template, constantly bombarded by the way how they present the news. There's all propaganda out there. We know that, but we still end up being configured by it and end up believing that that is the actual realm in which we live. In substance, we are living conditions of Iranian regime. And that is not how word freedom sounds. Accordingly, what I'm saying here, it should not be that easy to stop living like that. Just by choosing not to make a war, but to become normal and free person, driven by normal free principles. Of course, I have been talking about importance of national configuration, cultural updating, value systems based on individual qualitative benchmark, and so on and so on. And I have been talking, and today I'm talking about importance of how we manage the life, or rather how we the fact that ultimate aspect of accomplishing our freedom today is marriages. Is the way how someone is monitoring our relationships and what follow next in our life, which we all recognize the most important aspects of our life are our families. And now someone is there for quite some time. Now, what is the ultimate liberation? Well, not war making, but understanding family and how someone wanted to manage families so we can defend ourselves against such approaches. But above all, we have to break the system. We have to break the previous system that does have capacity to monitor you in your life and orchestrate your life, even within the embryo of your own family. We have to deal with our families. We have to break it on the level of our family. What I refused to do initially, I have not refused, but believed that a bigger reason, there is a bigger reason somewhere else. There are churches out there. Hollywood was there. White House were there. Monarchy of England was there. European Union was there. Russians, Chinese, capitalism was there. It was not just about me going home and dealing with my family. It was about what capitalism ended to be, what all of these private companies ended to be. Our what should be much more as what it is a vaccination program. I mean, systematic approach, because that is how our attack is. Systematic approach. That is unit by unit. And above all, of course, the headquarters. Headquarters. Religion is in such category. Monarchies are in that category. Governments are in that category. White House is in that category. Capitalism is in that category. Financial system is in that category. And how we solve it? By dealing with each of these aspects separately. We solve it exactly like that. How it does exist. By liberating ourselves from all the previous. I initially refused that idea because it came in format of prime tribunal societies, which I saw somehow source to all of the above. It was not acceptable for me to accept prime societies as the leading force that found me equally in nothing different position than the previous, locked in a box. How that would become our latest answer when it doesn't look as our latest? Our latest answer should look as our latest as well. Then it is our latest answer. Our criteria are developed as a matter of our contemporary living. We have our contemporary standards. I don't need prime societies in order to be human, in order to be a free human, living somewhere in urban area, for example. Living in the big cities, living in the center of the cities, being the front runners of the present civilizational cycle. I don't need private societies to give me the crown or to tell me how to bring that crown. The crown in this case scenario is the mind of a human. And as we know, the mind of a human works by providing it its latest answer in its given present time. And so this work is exactly such latest answer accordingly. And in that context, I have to ask why Protocol Excalibur is not working anymore when it is in question Monarchy Protocol. I mean, you can't live like that. You can employ such protocol, but then it is just for yours. Well, we're a planet today. And I have found you on my side of the of the story. I have found you that much in my life. We have become today, you have become today planetary empire. Excuse me, I am of the imperial ranking territories. I'm from the land of Alexander. You're not playing on me protocol Excalibur? Seriously? Where is going to play? In Ireland only? That's ridiculous. Also, let's clarify what that exactly means. Holding a sword. What, you're a second grade human? What's wrong with you? You can't be first grade human? What that means? That you're Homo sapiens, you want to say? A gorilla? Well, then go and declare your sword among the gorillas. I'm not joking. You can't declare yourself second-hand human and go away with the top of the planet. That is absolutely unacceptable. It's time someone to get serious here. Sword is a reference to a skill. The skill. You have the skill required or you don't have the skill required. First of all, it is monarchical symbol, not symbol for the president. It is not about holding someone. It is about having the required skill. We are talking monarchy protocol because this is ideological, conceptual. This is about frameworking of the planet. This is configuring the planet. You don't step up here as a normal, ordinary citizen. My verdict for today. I can imagine some little kids out there got a bit more oxygen in their minds. Well, it's time to wake up, high schoolers of masonry. We're not going to give to high schoolers the top of the planet anytime soon. Now let's throw that joke where it belongs, in high school. Also, that's going to be under supervision from now on. I gave you that promise for sure. Now, why on earth you're not playing Excalibur Protocol properly? Question one. Question two. Can you stop playing orangutan or gorilla and declaring humanity on behalf of all of us, please? Monarchical protocol is to be understood first and foremost before someone to get a competition there. First, we'll need to be understood. It is about configuration of the planet. That's not the protocol president, and it's not protocol masonry either. It is what I do here. It is about the subjects I pull out here. It is about the finding of code of human and human civilization. And today I am the one doing it. So my question for all of you today is why on earth I found you meddling on my field? Can you please answer this question properly? Why I have found you shorty panties, meddling in my field, on my field? Was this kind of football playground for high schoolers? For God's sake, get yourself collected out of my stage immediately. War, this is not up to making a war with someone. We are protocol children. Child, I'm not going to make war with children of anything. But Americans, I'm going to indulge you with that idea for a minute. Get a notebook and answer. If decision is brought to attack your shorty panty masonry America, how that attack would look like. Get a notebook and write it down how that attack would look like. Or would you like me to explain to you? Also, I can explain to you how long it will take. Kids, high schoolers, are you going to engage yourself in serious conversation here, or you're going to play high schooler now? If really decision is to be brought that you get attacked, do you know how it's going to happen? No, you are going to answer my question. Why I found you on my field with as a shorty panties? Can you drop that sword? That's not yours. It's not of Monarchy of England anymore either. It's Protocol Excalibur playing 15 years ago already. They have lost it. I want that by Monarchy Club immediately delivered. Or England is on the view as well. It's time to get serious. Shorty panties. There is one small detail that will need to be answered here. And that is what is the real driving force, or what was the real driving force to such monarchy of England? As we all know, the main reference have been about the two roses, white and red, that have been fighting for a longer period of time in England, which are very much happening within some kind of improved version of what would be seen as Macedonian and Serbian identity. It is a question here, where is still the motor? As we all understand, the motor is actually still on the previous plateau, that is on the old lands. That is where is Macedonia and Serbia, obviously, rather than where is the theater, that is England and America. It can be noticed that England and America wastelands ended to be actually wastelands, or rather the theater and the disposables, and that the motor is still at these old societies. It is therefore wrong to talk about old society in Iran and old society in Turkey, for example, but not to talk about old society in Macedonia or old society in Serbia. As a matter of fact, I warned about this at earlier point of time, just because I constantly lose myself in whatever is my subject for a day, flying on the sky that was not attended for 2 millenniums. I constantly forget that there is seriously actually prime societies in Macedonia and Serbia. Also, in all the time, I'm equally aware, and I know that, and I saw it as a serious obstacle while I have been living there. It certainly set me on some kind of dull possession. And today, after 15 years of me speaking about all of this, just last year was delivered in Hollywood the movie Barbie. After 15 years of work, that is all I got from my old societies. After all that great credit that I have given to them, that is all I got out of them. The protocol, the pedestal, Barbie being set on pedestal. I argue therefore that monarchy for quite some time of England equally have been holding such position rather than real monarchy. As much as I am right to deny them the power in any mode of awakening, which certainly is equally important question, and which I argue that they certainly have taken for themselves after flying on the moon allegedly or in the atmosphere, as we have become aware that somehow they managed to take on their side quite of the powers of what previously have been centered somewhere else. The fact is that the prime societies continue to organize ourselves on the prime ground, and nothing less of it I have on homelands. Our question is not that much geographical, therefore, when political, as much as it is also about the structures that exist on the territories and how we are going to find them organized. It is much harder to speak on our territories about something more structured because for a longer period of time these territories have been under a regime equally as in most of the Muslim countries, where it was one leadership and one political idea uniting a country. So it is easier somehow to categorize them into one kind of personality or one kind of approach, which was profoundly still prevailing as recognized within socialism parameters at the tribunal stages. So it was not given chance that much for them to step up out of their prescribed destiny to continue to be locked in the prime stages, which is also somehow destined for all of the Middle Eastern countries, and what good percentage of the rest of the countries that Western territories in ongoing awakening and development prefer to see the rest of the world. Today, equally, we can talk about the Western establishment as well, which is imperial establishment that I'm so much somehow recognizing as a matter of my bloodline. And within that protocol, again, because it is still prevailing on the tribunal, on the prime side rather, tribunal therefore even, they're still at the position of sacrifice Jesus. And you find that spider technique a configuration of these societies. So we have the variety, therefore, of these kind of configurations, various political configurations in the planet that exist like somewhere, like form different formations somewhere in the jungle. None of them excelling by its ultimate legal correctness, but more exist like survivors in the jungle, united upon their latest wisdom how to advance versus others. It is about jungle level of competition. What we are trying today to do, what I'm trying to do today with my work is to bring humanity forward, to basically to reflect on how on our latest configuration and how we think within our latest configurations as our latest edition of a civilizational consciousness, which ultimately always somehow get like per some kind of rule or tradition always becomes suffocated by the previous. It's always hard for the latest voices to get strong enough and to get on the surface, although it should not be that hard. In modern world, it becomes much more accepted practice, the latest generation, to dictate somehow the rules of game. Although everything somehow sums to latest oligarchs or latest capitalists, which by a definition continue to be within the human dimension of gorilla or of any other animal trying to take as much possible on its own side. In such kind of when you deal with such kind of nature of humans, still very much raw, still very much prime, of course the adequate rules of the game would be to bring enough capacity in what you compete about, because in any Olympics you win your territory, you win your the skillfulness in what you do, you be that level of best professional on the field, and everyone would accept such kind of leadership, such kind of dominion as it is in professional field, because it all comes to the skills. Today it is very much about bringing forward the humanity and bringing forward the narrative and the most correct political ideology. Of course, it is not me to dismantle anything previous. Everything that it was previously that would be in collision with what I do. It is the nature of how you promote your competence in your field as a next answer. I need to deal with the previous while delivering my answers. And that is what exactly I have been doing. Fact is, however, when you highlight a region and people living on the land very often comes to something that would exist in much more organic, on the base of everything. People living on the land become no different any land than any other land. Politics become something else. I have been driving my protocol constitution, returning to the senses of the land and people living on the land, and recognizing that in substance all comes to that, and everything else is politics that was happening within various period of times as a matter of prevailing cultural systems for one reason or another. Either that was imperial, either that was religion, either that was economy later on, which would exist as a layer on top of the most organic, most orthodox, most authentic existence of people on piece of land, which would not differentiate or not be finger pointing each other by the body shape or hair color. I don't know. It is fact that within certain much more organized approaches, as it happened, the three wise men and religion, something went into people. This kind of reconfiguration on what is most organic and most natural setting for the sake of opportunity, profit generation, secret society status, and so on and so on. And that is today, that is what we are discussing, as it is our responsibility of the one of us that can step up on such levels and can notice such things as doctors in ambulance. You have to monitor movement in societies. You have to take this kind of look from a distance and to monitor movements. You have to do that. As you do, we do such approaches in everything else we do, in any kind of other industry. Why you would not be monitoring social movement and movements in societies? Politics, imperialism, economy, all that becomes additional confusion and end up recruiting people in a variety of rather conflicting events. And today we simply, as in any other time, we need to reflect on where we are up to and what is the danger. Our regions exist as any other regions in its primarily people living on the land. In that respect, I will notice Serbia existing with much higher bulk of presence, much more authentic to agricultural, that is to land identity. And that is what makes Serbia to be prevailing body of entire Yugoslavian protocol, because Serbia brings real mass of population in the way how, for example, in Macedonia you can't find, because Macedonia added to be much more urban protocol, oriented on in the life of capital, main city. It's not even that much of a big land. And that ended up to be very much prone to influence from international influences. It was rock and roll, for example, Hollywood, various technological lately innovations that recruit Macedonia to great an extent in the global companies. Macedonia does have such kind of international imperial interconnections that easily allow employ Macedonia in the latest imperial gadgets. And Macedonia does have much stronger somehow international presence, because once upon a time was empire, especially does have very much mixed bloodline presence in Middle East, but nothing less on the west side. So for Macedonia is much more typical that imperial, rather former imperial, that kind of imperial remains, although very much obsolete, still very much existing on the levels of some kind of Al Capone's, like interconnected Macedonia-centered pro-imperial protocols that are obsolete. And I discussed today how fire empire in substance is actually civilization, and we'll need to answer in all of the layers of what that would means in all of the previous times. Therefore, very much an intelligent approach, not Al Capone approach. But no one can drive empire on Al Capone level in any of the times, let us say in 21st century. Of course, we'll need to be the best, the highest aspect of intelligent approaches. And as I was rightfully assuming I'm entitled to the latest imperial infrastructure because this work is imperial approach. Because that is how it works. That is how it becomes empire. It becomes out of this level of political consciousness. A simple mathematics here. But if we highlight the territories, the region now, it can be noticed actually very profound, very different actually struct configuration of what are rather in very, very of proximity territories as it is Macedonia and Serbia. And Macedonia continued to have some kind of blonde reference, yellow reference, because of that imperial international protocol that continues still to use some kind of Alexandrian interface or prototype as a currency of its imperialism, which continued to be in the same time very much regional, spread all over the planet, and today criticized by its obsoleteness. But that is how that layer differs from much more authentic, organic, natural Serbia presence, which is much more typical for being on the land and existing within its more natural law of living on the land, depending on agriculture, but in the same time being much more its own, much more real and much more authentic to its own regional identity. So when we return, and when we want to return to region now, and we need to learn to reach for that identity, you need that authentic body, and you find it where you find it. Of course, it was most natural for me to find it in Serbia as a land of my grandfathers and people that I still feel so much sorry about when I find them still living in some kind of harshness of conditions that are very turbulent of anyone that depends and live on the land and is brave enough, but also somehow doomed, or should I say, defined via living on the land. Most of these people have a very much happy lifestyle. It is beautiful to live on nature, and it is very rewarding. Most of them find purposefulness in living on such territory. And it was very easy for someone as me to find the beginning of my returning to regional identity, exactly where I can find body of it, rather than where I find obsoleteness, which I spent 15 years of time to actually criticize rather. People living on the land do not tend to be political. They end up, however, to depend on what's happening around them. While people living in the imperial setting can easily end up being obsolete if not carefully updating their protocol. And that is how we found ourselves in that story where although I have chosen to play Olymp in the same time, I found it not existing or not being where I would expect it to be, because obviously I need to deliver it. That is how we should understand imperialism. Imperialism belongs to emperors and empresses. And if you're playing the game, well, you have to play the game. You have to understand that you're searching for your Excalibur each time. or you can't be imperial otherwise. That is why the bulk of my arguing is happening, why the bulk of my arguing is happening within imperial structure. That is where the conversation is happening, not on the land where people are just living in all of the times. And no, I do not know anything more than that. Everything that is above that went within some kind of either Jewish biblical translation of reality or a religious would belong to some kind of more planetary level of investigation. And what is local land and local people living on the local lands should be understood exactly like that. Accordingly, we have to bring big conversation where we can actually have big conversation. But when it comes to searching for your body, soul, and mind, then you cannot go on any other place but where you can actually find it. And that is to be a big question today for Macedonians, obviously much more than for Serbs. Also, I don't like Serbian chauvinism, and certain political, YouTubers than political subjects today are making much of a damage to Serbia. They're all paid and corrupted, most of them. Nothing of being organic of the land. It's various political formations out there are trying to sell today some kind of Serb chauvinism and damage the most of the bodiest of the bodies of Yugoslavia, which is the authentic Serb population. And I would like to give credit to that country because it helped me to start to beginning and even deliver this work, because it gave me the beginning or opportunity to find my beginning. And as we all know, everything else just follows. Imperialism follows out of you being born first as a mind, body, and soul. As if that doesn't happen, then empire does not happen either. However, Serbian chauvinism sometimes damages Serbia. And I hope this latest discussion is going to defeat it solidly, and to express my persistency that I continue to bring the first chapters of my constitution exactly in reference to land and people living on the land where you can find them actually. And so that is how we begin this constitution again. And then everything else is what comes later, and what becomes much more to be criticized, questioned, and argued, because it becomes much more a result of certain making ups, as I have explained, either because of various recognized opportunities, various political bargainings, and what becomes then some kind of sectarian or religious platforms manipulating technically the mind of human and inboxing it for the interest of smaller or larger groups. That is why, learn this, occasionally we would need to return to that most authentic land to find our most authentic answers. And each country that does have such societies would be country with a future, and one that has lost it. Today we'll need to pay attention, first of all, to return to that land in any possible way how they can, and second, to be very sober and aware as of today of our latest lecture. Imperialism is not given by gods from the sky falling on us. It is what we make up of this realm by our mental configuration each time, and it will be challenged each time, and it will be challenged each time.